Jamie from Inky&Scrappy, sharing with you today my Craft Roulette Challenge number 199 card with a removable bookmark. And of course, we went to the bakery on Thursday, and would you just so happen to see this little sprinkled cake donut that is sitting in my, lots of pinks, reds, and some whites, and a little bit of brown. So that was my color inspiration for the bakery colors this time around. And of course, when I heard the project was a A2 or a card with a bookmark on it. And of course, I thought of the Dream Big stamp set from Lawn Fawn with that cute little either dragon or the unicorn. I hadn't decided which one I was going to do until, I dug them out and found the castle. Either one of them really would have worked well with this one. I opted for the dragon though. So to start, I die cut a piece of light pink cardstock with the largest A2 stitched rectangle die from Lawn Fawn. And then I'm coming in with the heart stencil, the two-part heart stencil from Lawn Fawn, and then some pinkish red ink from close to my heart. I don't know, it's whatever's in my stash. And then I went heavy-handed with the first layer, and then with the second layer, I tried not to refill my brush and kind of just gave it a very light pink look to it because I knew I was going to go over it with some Nouveau glitter paste. I think it's paste. I think it's paste. Yeah. And I added that onto that second stencil layer. Now, I'm not done yet because if you're like me and you have leftover glitter paste, I have a hard time wasting anything. So before I add that, I'm going to add just a little bit. I just came in with a fairly soft hand here with my pink. Granted, I am using a pearlescent, I shouldn't say pearlescent, it's metallic heavyweight cardstock. So it's from envelopes.com. It's a part of their Luxe line. This one is either champagne or gin fizz because I own both of those. I picked them up on clearance, so I just use what I have. And so I'm coming in with that leftover stencil paste. Of course, it's already dyed just a teeny tiny bit pink from the transfer from the stencil earlier. And I'm just kind of selectively inking, or should I say pasting, my background. I kind of wanted them to just be on the outside. I really didn't need them to be in the middle. And, I'm going to use every last bit of that paste as I can. Now, because this is a metallic cardstock, it does wipe off fairly seamlessly any of that overpaste that I got in spots that I wasn't 100% okay with. And so that kind of helped that whole situation out there. And I could kind of pick and choose what I needed to take off. So I will set those off to the side to dry. I'm going to clean off my desk, run that under the hot soapy water in the sink, and then I came back to stamp out my images here. So I did stamp out 2 of the back sides of the dragon and 1 of the front side of the dragon, and then of course I did pull in the other stamp set from Lawn Fawn. It's Fantasy Creatures. I have to look it up. It'll be listed down below. And so I'm bringing in my Ohuhu bullet nib markers. I think I did all bullet nibs for this one. And I'm just going in color-wise. If you are interested in those color blend charts, they're on my blog. On the right-hand side up on top, it'll say Ohuhu color blends. And all of those will be listed there if you are interested in them. I just pulled out, for the most part, my oldest ones, which are, I think, 4 to 5 years old now. And they've been well loved. I color a lot. So you will see, I think when we get to the red one, number 14, it bit the dust. I could have bought a replacement re-inker for it. But being that I have the newer set, I put it in the bin and moved on with my day. It's, sometimes it's what you gotta do. Now, when I looked at my color blends, there's number 6 and number 9 in the original ones. And I used to not have a little line underneath my 6 and my 9. And so my color blend said number 6, but it was really number 9, I think. I don't know, whichever is the lighter of the two, 6 and 9. And so I did end up switching that one out to the actual marker that was on my swatch chart. I did work this one probably twice for most of my coloring, just to kind of get that transitional blend and the blend that I wanted a little bit better, if that makes sense. The other thing I did is I came in with my darkest tone and kind of added some little horizontal marks there, or some horizontal lines and or hash marks, just to kind of give it the look of brick and stuff. Plus, it helped me fill that random parameter on Mr. Wheel. If you have not checked out Craft Roulette yet, it's a very fun improv card making challenge live on Friday nights. If you don't catch it live, you can always catch the replay. I usually end up catching part of the replay because, you know, cows, farm life, and I have to make supper when we get home. So usually I catch it halfway through or a little better, which is fine. And then always, you know, if I'm struggling with some of the parameters, I always go back and watch the replay because, you know, that chatterbox is always full of ideas. So anyways, I will link them below if you have yet to check them out. Give it a shot and don't be too afraid of submitting. They're a very kind and, you know, lovely bunch of ladies and gentlemen that, you know, very encouraging on all of the things. And, you know, stretchy pants just means that you've stretched your parameters a little bit. I don't think I actually did much stretching in this one, aside from using the little lines in my castle for my horizontal lines on my card. That was about as stretchy as I got with this one. Now, because I had decided at that point my number 14 was dead, I had to go and look up to see which one was my replacement. So I did go and grab my replacement for that one, and, you know, it worked a whole lot better when you're working with a juicy marker than if you're working with a dry one. It's, you know, it's definitely a big, I don't know, blending helper when your markers are actually juicy. Yeah, when they have ink in them, they blend better. Go figure. So I did do all of my little dragons there, and then I'm going to come back in. I did some tip to tip, and I slowed this down for you it's not real time, but it's, you know, not sped up 8 times. I did a little bit of tip to tip. Now, I probably let my tip, usually, so when I started doing tip to tip, I started it with my chameleon markers because they would do the fade out, so that's how you would get your lighter tones. But of course, it was backwards coloring for me because I always start dark. But so if you add your dark to your light marker, do a second count. And when you're doing your second count, you realize, you know, as you do it, you get better at realizing how many seconds you need to tip it to get the blend that you want for the area that you want. Now, I did a little bit stronger tip to tip on my first one, and you'll see how fast I go on the little ones here because it's such a small area. I just want a kiss of that darker tone on the top. And so, you know, making sure you have scrap paper to clear your marker off and get back to the original color. And I always like to rotate my marker when I do that to make sure that I didn't miss the darker on the opposite side that's not touching the paper as much, if that makes sense. I did come back in with my darkest tone just to go back in and add a little bit more contrast into some of the areas that I felt needed just a little bit more, you know, like where the vein lines would be on those wings. That was kind of what I did there. So if you're afraid of tip to tip, that's my biggest thing, is to count your seconds and figure out, just scrap paper blend it. See how long it takes to get that color out of your marker and make sure to rotate it to clear it all the way out. If you're afraid of doing a different color, try it with your colorless blender marker. Like, tip it to your colorless blender and then work it out until you get back to colorless blender. And that'll kind of help you understand how it's done, I think. So for my dragon, I did come back in with my darkest tone here and added some dot detail for scales. It just adds so much texture and character to the little dragon here. And then, of course, I did come back in with a white jelly roll. I used the 08, and I think maybe I should have used the 10 just because the dots were really tiny. Usually they're not. I don't know. Maybe my marker wasn't, or my pen wasn't flowing as good. I don't know. Anyways, and then, of course, I did come in with that Stardust pen as well to do over the wings, so they have that sheen to it without having to add glitter to them. It definitely gives it that glossy, glittery, you know, pearlescent shimmer on those wings. And of course, I use the coordinating dies for my dragon. I do not have the coordinating dies for my castle here, and I was being lazy and didn't want to go and start up the Brother Scan and Cut for one image. By the amount of time that it actually took in the video for me to cut around that castle, it probably would have taken about the same amount of time on the Brother Scan and Cut. It probably would have been faster on Brother Scan and Cut, to be honest. Anyways, so I'm using that metallic paper for my bookmark front here. I'm coming in with VersaFine Onyx Black ink, and then I'm going to heat set that with some clear embossing powder. I like to heat set on that metallic cardstock because it does have a coating on it, kind of like a glossy coating on it, and so ink does not set well. So I had to heat set it anyways to get it to dry, and so if I'm going to heat set it, I might as well add that clear embossing powder. Now, for my little dragon here, keep in mind that you don't want to add any, well, you can add glue to the little paws, but if you want him to be able to, hang over the page, make sure not to add any glue to his little claws there or front, I don't know, what do they call it? Their dragon, I would say paws and claws and whatever. So, and then I'm going to add in the back side of my bookmark. So I just cut it out again out of some pink paper, glued that on the back to kind of finish that up, and then I will add in my other dragon backside to the back of the tag. You don't actually see it on the finished card, and so that's why I ended up coloring two of them. So the back of the tag has that cute little dragon, flying away. So for this one, I kind of had in my head what I was hoping would work, but it didn't necessarily lay out like I was hoping. So it is what it is. So I did come in and just glue around the edge of that cloud panel. So that cloud panel is a Lawn Fawn background die, scene building die. I don't know. It's background panel, right? Anyways, whatever you call it. So I added that on to the card base, and by just going around the outside, I didn't really have to worry about where anything was going to stick in because I knew it was going to stick in any of them. Anyways, because they were all open, I didn't have to worry about the glue being in the way for my tag to stick in or my castle to kind of stick in. So once I was happy with placement, I needed to figure out my sentiment. Now, I just felt it needed some more reds to it. I like to do things in threes. Granted, the little flags on top of the castle were red, but it looked like it needed a little bit more red. So I am going to stamp out the May All Your Dreams Come True from that fairy tale. I think it's Ever After. Is it? Let's see. Critters Ever After stamp set from Lawn Fawn. So I did use that May All Your Dreams Come True. And then to make it coordinate with my colors on my card, I'm bringing in my alcohol markers again. And this is probably my favorite way to make the sentiment matchy match. So using that heat set ink as kind of, it just pops. I don't know if I would have liked this one better in white. I probably would have, but then I would have had to clean it off, and I don't know. I could have, I suppose, done it after the fact, but I don't know. I like how it turned out this way. I think the white would have maybe been, I don't know. The white probably would have been better. I was just, not going to go back and figure out the white thing. Me and white embossing powder don't always get along. And I would have had to, ink it beforehand and then wait for it to dry. And I'm not that patient, let's be honest here. So I did pop it up on each side. I left it open in the middle, so if you look in between, you can see that the little dragon's back legs are, kind of back there, so it kind of floats above them. That's kind of the look I was going for. Now I did bring in some lawn trimmings, sparkle twine here. It's the pink one. I don't know what the name is. Sorry. So I'm going to bring in my tweezers to kind of help push it through that hole. If I was thinking, I should have brought a brad in and put a brad on the top of my little thingy there. Well, maybe next time. Anyways, so I did come and I like to add, sometimes I will add beads on them. I could not get the beads to fit through that twine, and so I just tied little knots on the end of each of those strings. And then I'm going to come in with some clay hearts. These ones come from Recollections. There are many different clay hearts out there. This is just the one that I grabbed. I'm pretty sure I have multiples in my stash, to be honest. And so I tried to keep it fairly simple with them. I didn't want to overdo the hearts too much, but I liked those little pops of red. I kind of just tied together all of the red dragons with the pinks. So I will pop those on. And then my card should be complete. So there is my card with a bookmark on it. I have bakery colors in those pinks, reds, a little bit of brown, and some white. Of course, the frosting and the glaze is definitely that sugared, glossy, glittery paste. And then my large animal is a dragon, because to me, I would think a dragon is very large. And he looks very large compared to that castle. My horizontal added lines are the little hash mark, or the little lines that I added to the castle, the brick. So there is my Craft Roulette make for challenge number 199. Go give Mary a Vinny on the Craft Roulette channel and keep getting inky. I hope you have an amazing rest of the day and make sure to dream big. Bye!